All right, so let's take a look at this end of week design. It's an 8-inch square geometric abstraction, no representationalism. It's going to look something like this. It has minimum of 8 colors. And we're building upon our value scales, our tints, tones, and shades and things. And you're going to be able, now you have the freedom to mix and match and make them work and talk about how they work as a design. For those of you that aren't that familiar with abstraction, I mean, you might want to look at somebody like Peter Halley, who's more contemporary abstractionist. These are big paintings. Joseph Albers has a museum in Houston. Think of, for those of you that don't like abstract art, just think of these as designs. And you interior designers especially should appreciate things like this because they're timeless, they're simple, they're minimal. They fit in a lot of contemporary kinds of interiors. So, here we have, for example, green going to a blue, going to a gray, and then going to a warm color. So it's that kind of analysis that we want to start building upon in these projects. So here's my Pinterest page, or actually, here's my Pinterest page. And you see, I used to do a lot of Google searches, and then I just found that Pinterest was the mother lode. I mean, it just has so much material for the things that whether you're in 2D design or color. I do page layout, zine design, abstraction. Each of these has just tons of material and source imagery. We do have the color down here. We have our color course that we'll be building upon. We have, things like how to do these exercises and how to format them and label them and how they might look. We have these simple color designs. And I really think these are good to look at. You can look at Mondrian. We don't want representationalism. We don't want any birds, flowers, trees, hearts, words. You can think about colorful mid-century. Look at something like that, circles and squares. Personally, I'm drawn to this one, Antonio Velayos Mayo. And here's the thing, we don't want to steal from people, but we can definitely reference them. It's like listening to music. We can listen to a beat, we can listen to a riff, and then we can make our own. And we don't want it to be too derivative. But I thought these were pretty much perfect for what I wanted to start with. And, again, do your own searches. Just search for simple geometric abstractions and, create a Pinterest account and start creating these little subsections of things. And you'll find it's an incredible resource. Anyway, let's get back to Antonio's work, which I absolutely love. So what I did is I looked at this and I go, this is something I like. I like the movement. I like the cascading movement. Kind of references mountains and interiors and there's space that's being developed. So what I did, you can definitely look at this and just sketch something out in your sketchbook. Absolutely. I tend to work more digitally. So what I did is I took a screenshot so I'd have it as a reference. And I did not copy one of these verbatim. I did not take a piece of tracing paper over this, but I looked at it to get, and I hope if Antonio sees this, he'll look at it in a positive way. Antonio, I don't want to steal your work, but I'm definitely inspired by it. Okay. So what I did is, I brought it into Photoshop so I could look at it. And we use Photoshop in this class. And I know some of you are already using it to kind of touch up your scales, as long as you don't use it to make your scales. But I used my line tool, okay, my little line tool here. And I used it to draw out a design. Now, what am I looking for in a design? Those of you, you probably have taken 2D design at this point. So what I'm looking for is, I don't want symmetry. Well, I like movement. I like asymmetry. I was thinking about rule of thirds, and I'm thinking about focal points. And I ended up with these focal points here. They're kind of centered, but, and I didn't put them in the rule of thirds area, but there's enough angularity. I'm also looking at contrast. Here's a vertical contrasting with this diagonal. I'm looking for scale. Here's a big open area. Here's a smaller area. There's a rhythmic kind of pattern. So I kind of liked this little design. And I played with it a little bit. And I have a couple of smaller areas that could be made into focal points. So I think I'm going to choose this for my design. And I'm looking at this thinking, I'm going to pick one color. Maybe it's red as an example. So, I'm looking at this. Maybe I'm going to have, and remember, I can use tints, tones, and shades. So maybe I have, a dark red here. And then maybe I have next to it a grayed out red. And then here, maybe I have a tint of a red that's brighter. Although I will caution you, focal points don't have to be the biggest and brightest things. But this is small enough where you could get away with that. So I'm going to be thinking about how do I make this, it could very easily become confusing. It could just be, gray and bright and dark and light. I'm going to be thinking about movement. How do I go from dark to desaturated to bright? What do I want? What's the feeling? And you can definitely do this all in light grays. These are very colorful, you'll notice, and we're not into these colors yet. We will be, but here you can see warms against cools, and we have darks. So there's a lot of contrast in there, black and red, and then these cools. There's a lot of cool against warm happening in these compositions. But if you squint your eyes at it and you're looking for lights and darks, that's what I'm looking for. I could very easily make this black, and then I could make this red, and then I could have a number of, a variety of different values and tones around it. But what I was going to say is, you could have a very light composition. You could have a very dark composition. It doesn't have to be contrasty. But this is my start. So I went from finding something that inspired me, whether it's Joseph Albers or Peter Halley or Mondrian, and then whether you're using a sketchbook or whether you want to use Photoshop to sketch it out, then the next video, I will show you how I transfer this design to my Bristol pad and I will start painting on it. And the good thing is, it's not like we have to worry about making a mistake when I trace this out. If this line's a little bit over here, a little over here, these shapes can move around. I can definitely draw this out with a ruler in a very short period of time with light pencil marks, and then I can get to work painting on it. All right, I'm gonna leave you with that, and then the next video we'll jump into transferring it to paper and then starting on the painting.